Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, the audience discretion is advised. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. I am James McCarthy. Had to think about that for a second.
Do you always have to think about who you are?
I think everyone should think about who they are. That's more of a philosophical bent.
Yeah. We're getting into metaphysics here.
How about we get back to physical physics and figure out who everybody else is?
Well, for me, I'm feeling like I'm Ethan Skinner's.
All right, there we go.
I feel like I'm Jody today.
Okay.
And this is a preview of what I'll be talking about in a little bit. I think in this multiverse, I am Brady Davis.
Oh, it's very interesting. Very interesting.
Getting some multiverses.
Well, in this multiversal Brady Davis style, what have you been up to?
Oh, okay. So this past weekend, I went and saw a very good movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I've seen trailers for that. It looks really cool.
Yes.
It is incredibly cool. It is Michelle Yeoh, who one time she was a Bond girl. She's also in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Also, for our Star Trek crowd, whether you love or hate the show, she was in Star Trek Discovery.
Also, she was also in a Heroic Trio,
Yeah.
I believe.
She's been in some Jackie Chan movies, Crazy Rich Asians for the one basic girl who's might be listening to this. I don't know. What's our demographics?
We have one basic girl.
Okay. So this one's for you. She's a middle-aged immigrant who has a failing laundromat, and she's going to the IRS agency to get an audit done. And she finds out that the multiverse exists, and she might be the most important person who can stop an all-consuming bad thing from happening. And they also, she figures out that doing this weird technique, anybody who jumps into multiverses can download skills from other people. Of their other versions of themselves in the multiverse.
Gotcha.
So
That's very interesting.
So she's able to, do some weird stuff and then do martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
So if that hasn't sold you, and it should because Michelle Yeoh is quite awesome, do you want to watch a movie where Jamie Lee Curtis in a blonde wig drop kicks an adult short round from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
That's called burying the lead. You should have led off with that. Lead off with that next time. Yes, I want to see this movie now. Let's stop the recording. We're going to the movie theaters.
I would watch it right now.
There you go. Okay.
We're getting with Kevin and Shelton, and we're getting with Kevin watching it.
It is an incredibly weird movie, but it is some of the funniest stuff that there was a couple parts where I laughed out loud in the theater. But it is also very touching. The dude who was short round, Ki Hu Kwan, I think is his name. If I mispronounce that, I do apologize. I do not speak. I believe it's Cantonese that he speaks. I don't know. Maybe Mandarin. I don't know. Who knows?
Chinese.
But he is phenomenal in that movie. In this movie,
good.
There are some it's hilarious, but there's also really good action. There's a Chekhov's butt plug in this. Movie.
Oh man.
We're going to have to stop you there as far as that goes, because once you've hit Chekhov's butt plug, you've pretty much hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's also
not in a terrible way. If you're into that, then
right.
It's a great movie. I would say go and watch it. It's a very weird movie, so expect that. But it's also very funny. If you know a little bit about movies and especially some stuff about cinema and especially like Chinese cinema, there's some nods in there that's really good. I don't want to tell the less you know, the better. The more, I think.
Yeah.
But going in with this basic, but it's a great fucking movie.
Sounds awesome.
It's the best movie I've watched this year so far.
Good deal. I like that.
Sounds exciting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Ethan.
Me. It's my turn. Okay.
Yes.
I can't really say I've been doing much this past week. Just a lot of work, a lot of sleeping, getting back into that work cycle.
Okay.
I have been pricing out a lot of my Magic the Gathering collection because I'm looking to downscale a lot of it.
Okay.
I definitely need to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, all the way out, or just
Not
stuff that
all
you're
the
not
way
going to
out.
be using?
It's more so I still enjoy the game, but it's just finding time to enjoy it is becoming more difficult.
Right.
And it's just it's starting to get like overbearing in a way.
I've been there. Trust me.
I'm still there, actually.
Yeah.
But I don't buy as much new product as I used to.
Yeah,
I've scaled that down quite a lot over the years.
So like scaling down, making sure kind of like cashing in my investments. Also, the money doesn't really hurt.
That's also true.
Money usually doesn't hurt unless they're looking to get money out of you. Then it hurts.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're talking about, Magic can be like diminishing as far as money goes. But sometimes, like if you bought some of the older Commander product and it's still sealed in the box, it's actually worth more than the cards that are in it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So there's a couple of them that are worth like over $100 now. So
I bought a few years ago. I bought a sealed Commander 17 deck. When it released, it was about $40-$50.
They're all about $40 when they release.
Yeah. Last month, the sealed product was going for $300.
Now is that kind of like if you have Earthbound like in the box with the strategy guide, it's worth more? Is it because you have like the box and everything that was in there?
It's a collector set.
The collector set. Okay.
Oh, okay.
The Earth Dragon is $100, right?
Yes.
Yeah, one card out of a pre-con that came out about 3 or 4 years ago. The card itself is worth $100.
Jeez.
So the sealed deck's probably worth like 2 or 3 times whatever that is.
See that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
But like just pricing things out, getting ready to scale down. That's pretty much me.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Exchange those cardboard for another form of cardboard, or maybe video games.
Simplify your life. If you have too much stuff, get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
Even if it's just throwing it out. If you're not using it anymore, the only thing, like if you got it to collect it and all it's collecting is dust, that's the only thing it means to you. Yeah, just go on and it gives you new space to maybe put something you might want in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm 100% behind simplifying your life.
Yeah, if something that you enjoy doing, you no longer get the joy out of it, and it's just a burden on you. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not saying I'm completely out of
No,
we understand what you're saying.
We understand, having a load. Like, it's not getting rid of all of it, but it's definitely getting half of that load off of you.
Yeah.
It's not saying you're not going to buy singles later. You're just downsizing like a bulk of crap you don't use anymore.
You are getting rid of old to make way for what should be new and better.
And I also want to say that with me saying that, I'm completely being hypocritical about that, because I was just talking to a friend, to Holder earlier today, about my gigantic stack of War Machine that I still have that I haven't played in forever. But I am also a bit of a hoarder, so take.
Me too.
A lot. I mean, hobbies kind of
lend
themselves
kind
to
of
that.
a form of hoarding.
Well, it also, if you're like a avid DVD collector, I know Brady is, I am too, and I got a lot of mine on sale, and some of them I paid full price for. But you have like over a couple thousand DVDs. The problem with DVDs, unless they go out of print and they're collectible, they're not worth shit.
Yeah.
So you don't sell them because they're worth more just to keep.
Yeah, I have a stack of either that I've replaced with like upscaled to like a Blu-ray or something like that is just sitting there, and I really don't want to throw them away.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. So for me, I finally got to sit down to play a little bit in Namiji. We actually ran it at the shop last week, but then also I got to sit down and play it as well. Also played a couple games of Archipelago, which I've been glad to be able to get down to the table again. So I was very happy about that. Got a little group that we work with over where I work, and we kind of just like sit down and just have a good time playing games. We've done, let's say we've done Namiji, we've done Archipelago twice now. We've done Rising Sun. If you've been listening to our last podcast, it was number 3 on Brady's list. We still have the list actually right here. I may make the entire. Tonight I might make our Instagram page, and that'll be the first thing that's on the Instagram.
Oh, nice.
Picture of that. So just saying that right there.
Awesome.
I saw you approaching the microphone, Brady. Did you have a
No,
question?
that
or
was
statement?
It's been a while since we played Archipelago.
Yeah.
It's a good game. I liked Namiji as well.
Yep. Namiji is easily just like less than an hour, like because nobody had played it before, and we were able to knock that out. Like with 3 people, so it wasn't the full max of 5 that you can play.
Yeah.
But it plays like a breeze. If you know how to pick something up and put something down and collect a reward for that, you can play Namiji.
I think also the fact that we all had played Takedo first before many times probably helped in that as well.
Yeah.
And
the group I was playing with, my friend John was with us, and he's played Takedo, I believe, once. But that was the only other person that had played Takedo. It's a very easy
Oh, yeah.
explanation,
No, I wouldn't.
It's
It's definitely a good entry-level game for sure.
Now, again, we're all saying this if you don't know because it's kind of a spiritual successor. It's not quite a reskin because they do add a little bit more to it, but it's very similar to Takedo.
They add a little more, and they also cut off a little bit of chaff. Like when the game we were playing last week, Brady, I think you'd mentioned about there's no coins. Like you don't have to collect coins.
You don't have to
Yeah,
worry
no
about
money
money
slowing you down there.
Yeah, you're just basically again picking up, putting down, catch a reward, and wait for the next person to go.
Your
I will
currencies
say
are all points.
base game to base game. I like Namiji better. I was looking because I thought I had at least one of the expansions, but it turned out I just have like I found like the upgrade of it. Takedo for cheaper, where it's it gives you like metal coins and like little miniatures and stuff.
Right.
But the expansions I think are out of print and they're all expensive, so I probably won't be playing it with expansions.
The expansions definitely like add a lot more to that game.
I've
as
heard
well.
that they do. I want to say I've heard that like one of them is like just put this expansion in and play.
I got to play it with Connell when he used to come up here a lot more, but pre-COVID.
Connell's a huge
And,
huge into
There, for like outside of the restaurant, every space has a secondary option.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thought I hadn't heard that. Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly, but I think at the shrine you can gamble. Like like there was like and instead of
which I think then comes up in Namiji here because you have the gambling bag where if you go trying to catch crustaceans,
right?
If you keep capturing shrimp, that's good. The first time you pull a crab, still not bad. You can stop or you can press your luck, but if you pull a second crab, you have to throw the entire thing.
And
back.
it also helps, like if you've already completed a painting and the next space is a painting space, you don't need to go on there. You have like another option of doing something else.
Yeah, because you do get that problem in Takedo and Namiji where it's getting to the end of the quote unquote round and you don't really have much of a choice.
And you want to maximize your movement in those games. So,
and I will also say I like the early bird at the end of the game. For Namiji, you go all the way around the board and you go back to the harbor that you started at. And the first person back there gets more victory points for doing that than the next person, then the next person, then the next person. I like that because then it becomes a matter of, do I stop at this spot, but then have everybody pass me up and I lose a whole bunch of points that way, or do I hit the very end? So I've noticed just in the games that, again, the one that I ran with y'all and the one that I played in with the guys was the fact that jump kind of meant the difference between who came in like second, third, and fourth. Like there was, spoiler alert, I won. I don't play games, I win them. Game's not over until I win them. That's my little arrogant moment for the night. Maybe I'll have another one, but who knows? The second, third, and fourth place kind of fell down to when you got into the dock.
Right.
And I thought that was very impressive as far as that goes. I like when you have like clusterings, and not artificial clusterings where it's just like, oh, you're in the lead by 30. Well, if you stop at this point and are in the lead by 30, lose 29 points. It's something like that.
Yeah.
That's very blatant. But you have a lot of Euro games that will do that to kind of as a catch-up mechanic. I don't mind catch-up mechanics unless it is something. I don't like blue shells. I don't like blue shell. Like it's the Mario Kart problem. It was like I am so far in the lead. Oh god, boom.
Yeah.
All right, I have to.
Like Lords of Waterdeep at the end of the game scoring sometimes feels that way.
Yeah,
I will say something I wasn't crazy about in Namiji is so there are spots where you can drop off offerings, and if you drop off, and the more offerings you drop off, the less negative points is at the end of the game. That was very annoying for me. Because if I wanted to take that spot to drop off an offering, it was always like it was the worst thing that I could do. I would jump like way ahead, and then I would give everybody behind me a whole bunch of extra turns.
Right.
Like I'm not even certain that the points I would have, not having those negative points would have even helped me because I would have been giving other people more points.
And I got all of mine off mainly because the spaces were just open.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I didn't
for
go
me,
out of
it
my
always
way.
worked where if I moved to there, it was a really bad spot. It was a really bad
And that kind of that kind of feels like Takedo too sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in that situation where, your optimum play is you're gonna lose out on.
But unless I'm forgetting, like, Takedo doesn't have that negative points.
No,
There's
no,
a
no,
negative
no.
point in there. You can lose out on points by not having certain things. Like if you go to if you're one of the last people there at the end to like pick out the meals and you don't have the coins for what's
you might
left,
get priced out.
You don't get
That's
any points
true.
for that.
That's true.
It's weird of it. I think of it more in terms of, and it's a weird way to think of it, but whenever you have these negative point mechanics, you have to think about it. It's like, okay, I'm already in debt by 15 and I have to pay this. So I'm gaining points the way I would be gaining equity by paying off a debt.
Yeah.
For me, one of the reasons why I shot pretty much into like super lead at the end of that game only because at the last harbor before the final stretch, someone passed me the Yokube or Yokobue. I apologize for any kind of mispronunciation there. Which allowed me, if I stopped at a panorama spot, in addition to adding to the panorama, I also get to pitch an offering. I still had 3 offerings left going into the final one. I had none
if
left
you can
at the
get
end of it.
like some of those things that you get can be very broken.
Yeah, the
Oh,
skill
yes.
cards.
but they're all really
They're all
really
very good.
broken.
They're all very good.
It's
not
just
like
can you get to that one? Can you get to the one that would help you better than the which one would help you the most?
in Takedo,
Right.
there is a debate to me, like who is better off, the one who can draw from the pile of stuff first, or the one who can go first after everybody has done that.
So I want to tell Ethan real quick. So also as an example for our listeners.
Yeah.
So there's like 2 skill cards, right? 2 sets of skill cards, or is there just one?
You have the harbor cards, which give you upgrades or just straight up points, and then you have the sacred rock cards, which allow you to pick one or the other. And if you complete the assignment they have on that card, you get points at the end of the game.
One of those skill cards. So when you land there, you can only look at like 2 cards and you pick one. Except one
That's
of
specifically the top of the deck.
right. Except one of the powers that you can get in the game lets you look through the entire deck instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just pick the one you
I
want
got
every
that.
time.
I got that one.
Just my knowledge of
Card games?
right? Specifically Magic, just being able to look through instead of like the top X, whatever,
To look
just
through the
go
whole
through
thing.
the entire thing.
Tutor the whole deck.
That's just too powerful.
That's very
Yeah,
powerful.
oh no, it's very powerful. I think that might be the most powerful one. I'll step back a little bit. I think that's the most powerful one. But there are still some other powerful ones,
Right.
that, especially if you pair up the fish catching one,
Oh, yeah.
where you to get like, okay, I can fish for this type of fish, and if I do,
You
then
can
I get
fish
to
You
fish
should
again.
fill
again.
up your fish board and
Yeah.
have almost everything scoring. That scores you a ton of
Oh
points.
yes, it scores you, I believe, 39 points, which is I was able to finish out my board like completely.
Yeah.
And I lucked out because what was kind of like I wasn't trying to do it, but it ended up being kind of cutthroat. That like the fish that I was filling in were the fish that other people needed, so there was less of that fish on the board. So not only am I maximizing my points, I am minimizing what they can do with their points as well. Meanwhile, our friend Luigi, no relation to Mario, he could not grab from that crab bag. He ended up with like 24 crab points.
Oh wow.
Nice.
It was insane.
That's awesome.
That's a lot of crab.
That's a lot
That's
of
a
crab.
lot of crabs.
There you go. And so let's get out of the crabs and back into the weeds. Jody, what have you been up to?
Well, thankfully, I 3 things I want to talk about. One really quick. Namiji. We played that last Thursday.
That was very good. I haven't heard of this one.
Yeah.
What is this Namiji?
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 Namaji? Namaji?
Is it like Jumanji?
Yes.
I had to tell Luigi, no, I did not pick this game because it rhymes with your name.
So I played that. That was great. Also, I got to play another board game that I really enjoyed after we played that with Brady, and that was Cascadia.
Yeah.
So, Brady, if you will, because you've had a little bit more knowledge on that game, could you go over what Cascadia is real quick for the audience?
Cascadia is a tile and token drafting game. You have hexagonal tiles, which are environments, and then you have tokens, which represent animals: bears, elks, eagles, salmon, and foxes. And each tile also has a picture of a number of the animals, 1 to 3 of the animals, telling you that when you place this tile, then you can put one of those tokens on there. It's and really what you're doing is there's four sets of tiles and tokens together, and you're on your turn you just pick one and place it. But the trick is that each of the animals score very differently. So like your bears, and there's different versions, but the one that we play, like your bears, you want 2 bears right next to each other with no bears around them, and those score so many points. If you get another pair that's not near any other bears, then those add more. Your elks, you want them in a straight line, and how long the line is how many points you get for that set. Salmon, you want runs of them where they're running all through and they can't have any salmon next to them, other salmon next to them to that run, and the longer it is, the better. And you can't have more than 3 in a line. Foxes score for things next to them. The eagles want to be not next to any other eagles. So it all scores very differently. It's a very, very quick game. Like you're just going until you can't refill the tiles. I think it took us 45 minutes,
something
maybe?
like that. 45 minutes,
less than an hour.
Yeah.
And what I like about it is, unlike a lot of other games where you're putting tiles on a thing, you're placing tile. You have a starting set of 3 connected tiles. So as you go, your options are actually expanding. Where I can put this tile to fit in, because you don't have to, but you kind of want terrain together because it scores you more. Similar terrain, I mean.
Right.
But as the game keeps going, your options expand. So you're like, oh, I can put this tile here, and here, and oh, here I need this bear, so it comes out over there. And you also have these little nature tokens, which let you pick whatever combination you want instead of the ones that are right together. It's a simple game, but it has a lot of thought to it. I originally got it because it's a quick game, it's a simple game, and it's something that I feel like my kids can play. And
good entry level game.
I have played it with them, and they understood it pretty well. And it has a lot of replayability because each animal has 4 different cards,
and the tiles are going to be random,
and the tiles are always going to be random,
and the tokens are random.
What you pull out of the bag is
yeah.
going to be random. So,
and the timing of the game is when you run out of stacks of the hexagon tiles, then the game's over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So everybody gets exactly I think they said exactly 20 turns.
What I really enjoyed mostly about the game, the fun factor for me, is thematically the form and the function of the game were one and the same. Mm-hmm. Salmon swimming down the stream, making the environments. Yeah, I had a stream that was 7 or 8 tiles, and they were all and then you have to when you're doing strategies, you have to try and utilize your territory as well as your placement for where you want to put your animal in that situation, the placement for that, and the token as well. And it just it made a lot of sense also in the nature aspect of everything. Eagles just want to be solo, and and things want to migrate by themselves, and bears are mostly solitary creatures. So it was just a phenomenal, simple little game, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. It was a really good time. I definitely want to play that again sometime soon.
I like when mechanics and theme work well together.
Oh man,
they are tied in that game. Mesh right there.
It sounds like a game that I would.
You would enjoy it.
Yeah.
You would enjoy it a lot. Yeah. And the last thing I've been doing, this game's come out a couple years ago, but I'd never heard of it before, which is just due to me being completely deaf to Twitch streaming and things of that nature. And it was made available for free for PSN subscribers on PlayStation this month. And it is a digital card game, but it is much like in the realm of Darkest Dungeon, if you've ever played that. It's called Slay the Spire.
Okay.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of this.
And you start with 3 classes, or 2 classes, I should say, and then you unlock as you move along. You don't have to beat the game to unlock it. You just have to play a certain amount of time. So before I go into the game real quick, so I downloaded the game Monday. I've played it for 40 hours.
Jesus.
Already.
Gosh.
I want to stress something to everybody right now. You downloaded it Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume just midnight on Monday, the start of Monday. That's when it happened. Mm-hmm. That's 24, 48. Now with our recording, I want to say about 60, maybe 60. Yeah, 60 hours.
I've played it pretty much every week.
You played it 2/3
of
your life since downloading it.
Right. Oof. Yeah. Well, I might be exaggerating a little bit. Or I might have missed a day.
No, turn into that skid. I've been playing it. I've downloaded 60 hours ago. I played it for 200 hours.
I think I actually downloaded it Saturday. My days are
everything, everywhere, all at once, so I could play it over and over and over again in all the multiverse.
I played it 12 hours Sunday. I played it 12 hours Sunday. I was off Monday. I played it for 8 hours Monday.
Less than a full week having that much time on it.
So do you enjoy it?
I do enjoy it.
Thank God.
It's
I hate
great.
It's garbage.
It's one of those games you come across, you're like, why haven't I been doing this? I would have, it was free. If I would have gotten a chance to play it for a little bit from somebody else's system or whatnot, or seen a review for it, I probably would pay like $20 or $30 for it. It's an independent game. I would pay for it tomorrow if I had to keep playing it. So it's a card game, but you're going through dungeons and you're fighting like enemies with cards. So instead of just arbitrary magic names, you have cards that have like what they do on them. And the class I played the most of, and I can't really talk about any of the other classes because I played this one specifically, is called the Silent. And the Silent class, once you play through the game enough, you unlock a relic. There are relics in the game that stay with you throughout your playthrough. It changes every time except for this one that you get to keep. Normally, your opening hand is 5 cards, and the Silent starts with 7 if you have this relic. So that's a card advantage, and you have like 15 cards in your deck when you start out. All right, so I'm gonna explain this game to Ethan in magic terms.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so this is I've unlocked all the cards for the Silent. You don't get them right away. There are options to buy more cards throughout your playthrough or unlock them as you beat enemies. Okay.
Do you have to buy them in rando packs and hope to get the stuff, or do you buy each individual?
No, it's
card?
in game. It's in game currency stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
There are no options for loot boxes in Slay the Spire. All right, so Ethan, I'm going to give you a series of cards that are in this game, and I'm going to compare it to Magic. Before I do, you start the game, every round, you start this game with 3 mana, basically. Okay? And that's where your top end of your curve is 3. So let's pretend that that's how Magic is for just a second, that your high end of your mana curve is 3. All right?
Okay.
There is a card in the game that you cannot cast. Okay?
Okay.
You discard it to draw 3 cards, though. Okay.
Okay.
If you can discard it, you discard cards at the end of your turn, but you don't get anything out of it.
Okay.
All right. So imagine that. There is a 0-cost card that if you upgrade it, you can discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards. Then there's a card that says if you discarded a card, it costs 2 mana, 12 damage, generates 2 mana. There is a 0-cost card that lets you discard your entire hand and draw that many cards. Now, some cards, they do what's called exhaust in the game, which means after you play it for that one playthrough, for that one boss, you have to exile it. But when you get upgrades, you can actually upgrade some cards to not do that. And the gambling one, you can do that to where it doesn't exhaust. So if you have 2 of those in your deck, and you have cards in your deck, there are 2 cards that you have to discard that you can't cast. One draws you 2 to 3 cards, depending if it's upgraded, and one generates 1 to 2 mana. And then there's a card that costs 1 mana that discards 3 cards to generate 2 mana, but you can upgrade it to where it generates 3 mana when you do that. So do you see the value in the deck builds that you can do? That's just one. That's one out of 3 or 4 archetypes you can go in that game.
Going into my competitive mindset,
Mm-hmm.
if that was a legit Magic the Gathering deck,
Right.
that can turn 1 kill any opponent in like a modern format.
The problem though is you start with like gaff cards. So you start with like 5 shields and 5 swords, and the swords do like 6 damage each, and the shields block 5 damage, and they all cost 1 mana each. And then you have a couple other cards that you start with. So you have a bunch of extra crap that's in your deck. So when you get to like your rest points, which is every like 3 or 4 fights before you get to the boss fight, there's like about 12 before you get to each boss fight. You have your choice of upgrading a card or resting. So, and you don't get your health back in this game until you get to a rest point. So it's like, do you upgrade a card? And then when you go to buy something at the shop, you only have so much gold. So do you spend gold to remove a card permanently from your deck like a garbage card? Or do you buy a good card or a better card? So that's where the strategy lies.
It's
so good.
Insane.
So to summarize the last 10 minutes of our lives, Magic the Gathering freaks are like, and every other person on the planet is like.
That card value
Yeah.
runs through other games, though, Jay.
I
Value in general.
didn't
I
want to
still
shell
can't-
Jody for that,
I
but
still-
like
I
there
still
was some
can't-
moments where I was
still can't
completely
shut him
lost,
up.
and
Yeah.
I do play
Yeah.
games
you
and
go.
card games, and I understand
Right.
the terms and
Right,
everything.
right.
So-
Imagine the value of a thing that you're trying to do in a board game and it's free.
To our
Yeah,
Magic,
I mean,
to our
that's-
Magic passengers, you're welcome.
It sounds
To our
like a really
non-Magic-
crunchy game that you
It can
really,
be. It
To our
can be super
non-Magic
fun.
passengers, I am sorry.
Now, while you were describing the game, it reminded me of one that came out last year. It's called Inscription. It came
Oh,
out-
hold on. I do want to say, like, I did what I could to get back the basic girl. You just lost the basic
Oh, yeah,
girl.
100%.
Like, she's gone.
100%.
She's
Yeah.
absolutely gone. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yep.
I apologize.
Well, so now, so now he gets all the frappuccinos. That's how it works.
Yeah.
He gets all the mocha
That,
fraps
that
now.
was his end goal.
That was his end goal. I'm
there you
sorry,
go.
Ethan. I cut you
How
off.
about how about in Namiji, you have a card that says you can use a space that another player is on already for free.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I get.
I'm not trying to like, shit on you or anything.
Yeah,
it was
right.
just funny.
that
like,
got more technical than a Star Trek manual.
It did. It did.
But no,
Where are the bathrooms on the Enterprise? There aren't any.
Well,
well, like the Enterprise, there's no bathrooms on the Omnibus. So.
I give you, you just shit out the window. That's how you do it.
Fair enough.
There you go.
That's how we got the racing stripes.
There you
so
go.
so my cap on this is that even if you don't like Magic the
Ew.
Gathering, even if
started it. I'm sorry.
even if you don't like or play Magic the Gathering and you just like really good games, Slay the Spire is pretty awesome.
It sounds like it like there's a lot of depth in that.
Well,
which is good.
I think it just depends on the build
It
you
can
go.
be, yeah.
That specific class also has something. It's only gonna take a second.
That's 2 seconds.
Yeah,
We've
right.
already, it's just the pause was 2 seconds. You've lied to me.
I totally
go,
lied to you.
go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
There is what's called shivs in the game. So they're free attack cards. There's a card that costs 1 that gives you 3 of those. So you can like pay 1 and have 12 damage for free, basically. And then there are cards that improve that as well. So like shivs now do +6 damage for 1 more. So there's different. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot to get from that. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Slay the Spire.
There you go.
Sounds like a very
Watch
fun game.
Donkeys. He didn't do a full review on it, but it was in one of his top 10s, I think, from last year. Yeah, no, Slay the Spire is actually quality entertainment, quality fun. I'll do it again.
Magic.
There you go.
You compared it to Darkest Dungeon. Is it like brutally hard like Darkest
It is.
Dungeon? Yeah.
But it's not on that level. You don't start with negative stuff happening
Yeah.
to you immediately.
Immediately.
And
yeah,
also-
Darkest Dungeon is literally
And
for
also
Darkest
a lot
Dungeon.
of your choices. So like I was telling him, like when you get to the resting area, you're like you start. Let's just say your health is at 70 and you're at like 25. You don't know when an elite boss a sub boss is going to show up. You're like, do I want to upgrade this card or do I want to like get like 1/3 of my health back? And that's where like strategy comes in, for your choices.
There you go.
Not quite as brutal as Darkest Dungeon, but had the same kind of play feel.
Just once you knock out that 15
I
card
don't
combo,
mind a
it's
hard
great.
game, but
Right.
I don't want.
Yeah.
I don't want to have
No fun.
I don't want to
Yeah.
get my dick get put in the dirt.
I played
over and
Darkest
over
Dungeon
and
for
over and
about 2
over.
hours and gave up. So
Like slamming my head against a brick wall is not.
no.
fun. And no, I will not get good for the one person who's typing angrily. Maybe I don't know.
We have had.
I'm conjuring up a lot of like people.
Well,
that,
it's amazing that you mentioned feedback because, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, we now have passenger feedback.
Oh.
This is a situation where people come up to us and tell us, "Hey, I really liked or really hated some part of the show." If you're on Spotify with us, we're gonna have questions and polls on regular things on our main topics, just on stuff that's going on in the show. But I actually had 2 people come up to me and tell us some stuff about the show. So, first person, codename Goon. We'll just leave it at that. He goes, "Why don't you just get good? Cured my depression." So, because of this, the next episode is just going to be us talking in Dark Souls memes and nothing but Dark Souls memes all the time.
I'm going to see how far I can get, having never actually played Dark Souls.
That's okay. Just keep saying no. All I need you to do is every so often
just yell, "Get good."
No, don't even yell. Just get right up on the mic like I'm doing right now. Go, get good, and then just back up from it.
That won't get old.
Also, longtime listener of the show, Austin V. He said to us he actually bought the Chronicles of Amber from Amazon. So the books that Jody and Brady both bought, we've sold another copy. So Amazon,
you're welcome.
Jeff, you got money. I know you got money, Jeff.
We
Just
need
kick a little bit back.
We need to write a letter to the
Zelazny
estate.
Yeah, there you go.
Say, hey, we were.
No, let that man see. Bezos got
I don't know.
money.
Is he dead? I don't know.
He died in like 96.
Okay, I figured so.
You don't even listen to the show because I mentioned the fact that he died in 95 of terrible cancer.
Oh, okay.
We could steal Bezos' credit card and he
No,
wouldn't realize that it's gone.
I don't listen to the show because I hate hearing the sound of my own voice.
Jeff, where's our kickback? All right. He also wanted to recommend us a book series. It was the Black Prism book series by Brent Weeks. And in regards to, Brady, what you mentioned about the magic system in Chronicles, he said that the magic system in Black Prism is unparalleled, and he would not go any further with me on that. So this piques my interest.
That is a bold statement.
There you go. But that is passenger feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we thank you for that. If you would like to send feedback of your own, currently our avenues for that are through Spotify, through our questions, and through our email, travelers on the omnibus. Again, travelersontheomnibus@gmail.com. So again, we like to hear from you whenever we can. Gentlemen, it's main topic time. We've been too quiet. We need some backing music, and that's why we're going to be turning on the Omnibus radio this week and talking about scores and soundtracks from movies. Movies, again, moving pictures is what it's short for, but without the sound, I don't think we would be enjoying movies as we do today.
No, I don't think they would be in the same place.
And it's not just sound effects, but it's also the music that wells in us senses of hope and fear and other great and terrible and powerful emotions, and the music is what brings that to us. And it's both produced songs by bands, and it's also wonderfully composed pieces of music by some of the best modern composers of this day and era. And so I open the floor up to any of the travelers with us right now to start talking about it.
So something that you just mentioned made me think. I think that like our movie composers are just like back in the day, like you had like Mozart and Beethoven and all, that space is now almost completely taken up by composers for movies.
100%, yeah.
I can't tell you any quote unquote classical composer who any of their work modern, like all of these that's not connected to a movie.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing like probably started dying off around the jazz period of time. For the most part.
I would say that the preservation of it is through movie scores. I think it absolutely.
That's the legacy of that.
I think that art form exists to, again, parallel with what you are seeing on a screen. And I think without that music, a lot of our favorite moments don't mean as much without that sound to go with it. It's not just the visual.
Well, yeah. Also, oftentimes that will kind of tell you how you're supposed to feel about this.
Yeah, like listening to any soundtrack or musical score from any movie, it makes you want to like feel something. It makes you want to connect with the sounds and the emotions that are flowing through it and all that. It just is beautiful whenever you like sit down and appreciate it in a way.
I think the first time that I remember being affected by a score was when a character was being shown for the first time in a movie, when the theme for Darth Vader by Williams kicks in. Like, that dude is here and he means business. So you want to talk about John Williams, maybe? Or
I think if we're going to talk about composers, we can't not mention
get the
John Towner Williams.
Get that one right out of the way.
Yeah.
You can't get John Williams right out of the way.
Yeah.
Star Wars, Superman,
Indiana
Jaws,
Jones.
Indiana Jones,
Harry Potter.
Was he Harry Potter
He
as
was,
well?
Harry
he was
Potter.
Harry Potter.
Jeez,
He did a lot of like his more modern stuff is still like it's people's childhood.
By the way, he turns 90 this year.
and he's
Oh my
still
gosh.
He's still producing
He's
at a
still
level
producing.
that is beyond quality.
Did he do Close Encounters?
I think so, possibly.
That's one I did not.
Close
Encounters
he
of the
he
Third
did.
Kind.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Dun,
He did
dun,
do that
dun,
one.
dun, dun.
Yes. One of the thing, like while doing research for this, I did not realize how much this man has done.
Oh, he's done a lot.
so much.
Regarding
Jurassic Park, like
Jurassic
we didn't
Park,
even
yeah.
mention that.
Regarding all of my favorite childhood movies I grew up watching, he's been in every single sort of
Oh, yeah.
every single thing.
His
won,
fingerprints are all over that.
He won.
Yeah, his fingerprints are on so many people's childhood.
He won an Academy Award for the best score in Star Wars: A New Hope.
Oh, yeah.
He composed Duel of the Fates.
Yeah.
One.
where he got a bunch of people in a room to scream, "Corn on the cob! Corn on the kebab!" over and over again.
I was about to say that was the most memorable part about the pre-sequels.
That was the happiest memory.
Yeah.
That was the
from
best
prequel.
part.
Yeah.
Of
Which
that.
they're still using it. The Obi-Wan
Yeah.
show's trailer literally
Yeah.
started with Duel of the Fates. The last battle of Revenge of the Sith is set to Duel of the Fates. Like that piece is just exceptional.
It's very good.
absolutely
Yeah.
exceptional.
And just the fact that he's like this in the center point of my entire childhood memories is bizarre.
Well, yeah, like, and I guess for younger people, even younger than the baby boy Ethan over here, he's a little baby. You know, I guess that's less. That's less important depending on if their parents also like told them, hey, watch Star Wars, watch Indiana Jones, watch Home Alone. Yeah. But even still, like my children, they've watched Home Alone. You know, they've watched E.T. So that's even a part of Harry Potter. You know that they really love that. So like for a lot of people's childhood, like that is it. Like he is like so many of these tunes you could bring up and people know, okay, I know exactly what that's from, and they can think of that specific childhood memory of watching that movie, of seeing, you know, E.T. fly across the moon, or you know, see that the Imperial Star Destroyer come in from the back of the film, you know, from the top of the screen. I mean,
He has a great knack of starting out subtle with a theme and then just bringing it to this amazing crescendo that carries out the rest. Like the Imperial March to me is the best example of that, because it starts out with very soft but very also terse. The violins go dun 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 dun, and like it starts building up, and then when you finally get to the dun dun dun, once you start hitting that, okay, yeah, similarly the Superman theme also, because the and then like and then the like dun, 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 dun,
Right.
dun, dun,
He
dun,
likes that slow build, man.
Yeah,
He did that in Jaws.
and then it hits you.
And
it's like,
Jaws,
yes.
in Jaws, it was like dun, and then like like when it hits the crescendo, that
Setup and payoff.
Yeah.
Setup is quality, and the payoff matches the quality.
Very
It's
much
so
so.
good. Like he's always been great with that.
yeah, especially I mean for me, of course, Star Wars, but Indiana Jones, man, that score just hits hard.
oh yeah,
I want to say he was like he started in Raiders of the Lost Ark and then continued that all the way up into Crystal Skull. Like he's
I believe it.
he's
I
done
believe
every-
it. Yeah.
like if he sticks, with the exception of Harry Potter, because he was only there through Goblet of Fire, which is the fourth movie.
Yeah.
If he sticks
I
with
think
the
a lot of that
series-
was because I think he was also leading the London Philharmonic at the time. And
He
that
probably,
was-
and he had
was-
already done the work. Like they
Yeah,
just had
he-
to reuse some of the themes he's already done.
Yeah, he did the Harry Potter theme.
Right.
yeah, the most memorable thing.
Yeah, that's what everybody remembers of that movie,
But
of those movies.
he sticks with a series and he sees it through.
Well, yeah, he did like all of the Star Wars, like all of them.
And I think a lot of that isn't. I mean, he's
Yes,
a genius.
even Solo.
But you know, during the time period when all those films were coming out, there were only so many people you could go to, and he was the top guy. So I mean, why would you go to anybody else if that was even an option? I don't even know how many options they had at the time.
Well, and also
Oh, there were still some options.
let's
Right.
also bring up that most of these movies are either Spielberg or George Lucas.
Oh, yeah.
Who are buddies, and then they brought in Williams to do like. So it's all of this,
right?
Like, and I'm not saying that he doesn't even deserve it, because of course,
look at the
man's work,
right?
But a lot of these very important
connections.
There's all these connections,
right?
I will be the first to break off from John Williams.
Okay, all right.
And I would want to bring up one of my favorite movie and TV composers. Movies primarily, his greatest track, the one that I think pretty much everyone knows, started as part of a movie score, but then moved on to become the theme song of one of the greatest science fiction TV shows of all time. And that is Jerry Goldsmith. I've actually misstated this wrong. He's actually one of the most numerously nominated for best scores in movies. He only ever won once, though. I thought he had won more times, and actually kind of shocked me because for some of the movies that he has scored, Alien, The Omen, that was his Oscar winner. He did The Omen. Papillon, he did Chinatown.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Let's see. Again, Star Trek: The Motion Picture, specifically the theme. So again, the theme for that movie, which later would become the theme for Star Trek: The Next Generation. That was Jerry Goldsmith. Poltergeist, Hoosiers, Basic Instinct, L.A. Confidential, Mulan. He did the Mulan alongside Matthew Wilder and David Zappel.
Oh wow!
Yeah, 18 nominations. He only ever won once, and I think a lot of those, like, I always think that the Oscars should be based year to year. Like, there are some movies that I think transcend past the Oscars, but going against what they have to go against sometimes, it makes sense why they didn't match up. But like, I think of that group of work that I just kind of hit everybody with. He also Planet of the Apes and Patton. He did the scores for those movies. Those are extremely disparate films. Like he's all over the genre, and he makes music that fits very well within different genres. One thing I can say, at least for Goldsmith over Williams, and this is the only thing I would say, is the fact that, again, you have a lot of heroic science fiction fantasy with Williams. Goldsmith could do a lot with everything. I think he was more of the jack of all trades.
Right.
Now, to kind of shift from like old school composers into one of the most modern composers, Hans Zimmer.
Yep.
Hans
Good
Zimmer.
choice. Very good choice.
He is, in my opinion, he's probably one of the best modern composers. He won 2 Academy Awards for The Lion King, the original, not the live action remake.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And for this most
Breathe, motherfucker.
he also won an Academy Award for the Dune.
Yeah, just recently score, because Dune won all the technical awards.
You tout him as modern, but he's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Like, he predates The Lion King by about 10 or so years.
Yeah.
But that also goes into all of his work in Inception,
Yeah,
Interstellar.
but I would argue like the Christopher Nolan movies was when people like really
Yeah.
started
Well,
paying
yeah,
attention to him.
sure.
Although I will also give a quick nod. He also scored one of my low-key favorite movies of all time, and right now Jarrett Hubbard is smiling because I'm about to say this, but Gladiator.
He also did Gladiator.
That is arguably the best film in
Russell Crowe.
No, not Russell. Well, Russell Crowe, yes, but also the director.
Shit.
My brain also shut off.
Oh my God, no! He did Alien and
Alien
Blade Runner.
Ridley
Scott.
Jesus.
Thank you. We are getting too old. Ethan, you got to remember to give us our pills. Without our pills, we're going to die.
Yeah.
All you had to do was say another movie, and I was on it.
Arguably Ridley Scott's best movie.
Yeah.
I think Blade Runner and Alien, you can argue, are more cultural touchstones, but from a presentation side, Gladiators, the scenes where like he's seeing his wife like touch the barley in the field, and then like that haunt
That
like
was very good.
Very good shot,
that the sound and that score in that movie really
It's very
uplift
effective.
that movie.
And I would say, like, even with like Hans Zimmer's new score, Dune, when I first watched it, and I believe I even spoke to you about this, like I was underwhelmed. But the more like I watched videos where they talked about it, and then rewatching the movie when it came back on HBO Max, I was like, okay, this is a really, really good score. He got me back. Like,
He could have done more with that, and I think he didn't because of the setting.
Yeah.
I think if you have too much going on in the sound of regards in that,
Yeah.
it doesn't match up with the fact that this is a barren desert planet. That's just me. That maybe just just me just kind of
Yeah,
throwing
and it could
something out
possibly get in the way of like sound design in that movie is also very, like not just the score, but like the sound effects that you use and the ambient noise and all that.
Some
is also
other
very
Hans
important.
Zimmer bangers, if we're going to call it The Last Samurai. He did the score for that one. Crimson Tide, super underrated Gene Hackman movie. Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. I highly recommend Crimson Tide. All right, are you going to mention him, or am I going to mention him?
What if I mention him?
Let's see if Jody mentions him.
The next person on my list has directed some like under the radar films. Well, he's not directed.
directed
Not
them?
directed. Not
This
directed.
is not the director's list.
He might have known who the director was depending on what the film work he was doing for. He worked on a little movie called The Forbidden Zone. He also did the score for Nightbreed. Also, one of my favorite movies, Darkman, and maybe some films by Tim Burton. Danny Elfman.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That is not the one I'm mentioning.
Okay.
But yeah, that is.
All right.
I had him down to definitely mention.
Right. Yeah. Danny Elfman scores. A lot of people don't know this. Tim Burton, when they were making Nightmare Before Christmas, was working on the second Batman film. And wasn't really involved in that project outside of like doing some design work for the most part.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas was Henry Selick's movie.
It was pretty much his.
Necessarily Tim
and
Burton's movie.
Danny Elfman just made whatever he wanted, and
Yeah.
then if it didn't work, they just said do something
Yeah,
else.
he
So-
was the singing voice of
Yeah.
Jack. So whenever you hear Jack in that movie sing, that is Danny Elfman.
right. And Elfman did work on Scissorhands as well.
Edward Scissorhands.
Pretty much like most Burton stuff.
Yeah, speaking of Batman, he did the Batman theme.
He
did.
If you're
Like,
thinking of the Batman
Hans
theme,
Zimmer worked on all the new
he did
Batmans.
Batman.
Okay, but the Batman theme is Danny Elfman.
Speaking of that, I also like comparing. This is kind of getting a little off of Elfman, but it's like
Sure.
that iconic Batman theme. It's really interesting comparing that. I know some of y'all haven't watched it, but the Batman, the theme that they use for that, how it takes pieces of that, but it does it in a different way. Whereas the Batman theme that Elfman did is a march, and the theme in the Batman is a dirge, which definitely sets the tone for each of those. You feel triumphant, but that Danny Elfman Batman theme, yeah, I think about it in the Batman '89 movie, but I also like Batman the Animated Series. Use
Right.
that intro is so iconic because that was a big part of my childhood was watching that show.
I watched the hell out of that show.
After school every day. Yeah, like he's I definitely want to talk about him because he is so iconic with a lot of his stuff, and he's done a lot of stuff that
He's done
that
some
you
off
wouldn't
the wall
even
stuff.
think of.
Also, for anybody who doesn't know, Danny Elfman was in a band called Oingo Boingo.
I was literally just about to say that.
And
we didn't need to go there, man.
well,
We didn't need to go there.
The single from Weird Science was on Weird Science, and it was its own video too. I think that was like the last thing Oingo Boingo actually did. As far as
and
like releasing movie album titles.
Something you younger kids might also remember. He also did the score for the Spider-Man movies. So yeah, he did
Right.
that
'Cause
iconic
Tim
Spider-Man theme.
Because Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Pleasantly
Tim Burton. That
surprised.
was
Not Tim Burton. Fucking Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
My
Sam
bad.
Raimi.
My bad.
who's coming back for the second Doctor Strange movie.
Yes.
I'm very
Which
excited about
I'm
that.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
that
excited for
actually
that.
does have me.
Spider-Man 2, still my favorite superhero movie of all time.
Oh, that's so good. That Evil Dead shot they do.
Also did the Mission Impossible theme.
Right.
Several other things. Oh, we did the score for Silver Linings Playbook. Okay.
Yep.
Which is an interesting. There's a really good use of a needle drop being a musical, an actual song that they put in there of the girl from North Country Road. So speaking of, he did the score for that, but then there's also like some soundtrack stuff in that as well.
Right.
Yeah, he did a lot of really good stuff.
Well, now that you mention a soundtrack, Brady,
No. There's two people that need to be mentioned, and I'm
more
I'm
mentions.
curious if Brady. No, these aren't honorable mentions. These are still up there.
I've got one too, but
I'm gonna see if
couple.
Brady.
Pause on my moment.
okay.
because I was thinking you would name this before me. Not that's my other one. You got it. No, that's him. Yeah.
So,
Ennio Morricone.
Ennio Morricone.
Yep.
Yeah, this is if there's an old western that you liked, he probably did the soundtrack for that.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Mm-hmm.
The
Fistful of Dollars.
A fistful of dollars, a few dollars more than The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. But particularly for me, the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And it happens to be in the final movie, in the final scene, the 3-on shootout duel. The build again. Let's talk about with a build up and payoff. Oh my God, the tension in that scene is there just visually, but when you add that score
That music
by
comes
Ennio
in.
Morricone,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
He also did the score for The Hateful Eight,
He did.
Yeah,
and I believe won the Academy Award for that.
and Django Unchained.
And Django Unchained,
Which
yes,
makes sense.
I think that's I have a great deal of respect for John. John, I almost said John Turturro. What the fuck? Quentin Tarantino.
Wow.
No one has ever, until this moment, had John Turturro and Quentin Tarantino as the same person.
Yeah, lap
My
over from
apologies.
talking about the Batman.
Quentin
a couple of the
Tarantino's
shows here.
respect for the history of cinema,
Oh,
I
yeah.
greatly appreciate that, and especially like
And
utilizing
music in
people
cinema as
that
well.
still have power in
Yeah.
music,
Mm-hmm.
and using Ennio Morricone for
Speaking
that.
of Ennio Morricone, we can't talk about him without also mentioning he was in Sergio Leone movies.
Leone, yeah.
There was an interesting thing that I saw in a video a while back. Leone played the music that was going to be played during that part in the movie. He played that live during takes, so that people knew how to react to the music.
Oh, that's rad.
That's sick.
Like I watched it, they were specifically because he did Once Upon a Time in the West, both Morricone and Leone, and he was playing like the music when what's her name gets off of the train and is walking around. But yeah, like so that's how much like Leone cared about the music fitting with the actual action.
Yeah. Oh,
Very important to have
Yeah.
that kind of.
I think most
Insight.
directors do, but to take it that extra step,
Right.
I think that's exceptional. That's
Probably
I thought
why
that
that
was
hit so hard emotionally. Whenever.
Oh yeah, that's why like there's so many emotional beats in,
Yeah.
in those old westerns that really hit. Yeah.
Brady has his notes, and he pointed to this man first before pointing to Ennio Morricone, and
We've talked about that this kind of symphonic scores, but there's something that I really like in a good score is that that synth, that kind of sometimes a little bit 80s, but like that
the synth what has become synth wave.
kind of synth wave. So yeah, so this guy, he's a composer, and really all he does now is music. But he's also directed a lot of movies, and that's
He's directed a lot of good
John
movies.
Carpenter.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
right. Mhm.
He later in most of his movies he did the score later. I know in some of them he didn't, the earlier ones, but like the way he can use like that synth and that he's very he's
I think
one of my,
like for me personally, like thinking of synths and his movies, Prince of Darkness had some heavy synth action going on in it.
There's a great deal of respect for, thinking back to Ennio Morricone as well. There's a lot of respect for like Western twang. Like I think of like the opening to They Live, and I think of pretty much like a lot of the backing to Big Trouble in Little China, where you have this kind of like Westerny kind of like twang guitar going on in the background too. And I think that's something like his synth work is what to me stands out.
Yeah.
But there's also that as well going on. So much so now that the only thing he has to do now with the Halloween series is that he just composes the scores for them.
Yeah. Well, literally, like he doesn't shoot movies anymore because he doesn't feel like dealing with
The Hollywood bullshit.
With the Hollywood bullshit.
I don't blame him.
He literally writes music and he does like concerts. You're not gonna watch a new John Carpenter movie. You're gonna go see a John Carpenter concert where he's a grumpy old man with a piano in front of him and flashing lights behind him, because he is a grumpy old man.
I think he
He's
has a
earned
right
it.
to be.
He's earned
because the man made Big Trouble in Little China and it flopped and he was blamed for it.
Yeah.
blamed for it. I wish people would blame me for Big Trouble in Little China. I would appreciate it.
I mean, it created a video game series, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah, many of his movies flopped that did not deserve to flop.
There we go. Do we have any other composers before Ethan railroads us into talking about soundtracks?
I do. Give me just 1 second.
Yeah,
okay.
So
Go ahead.
Hold on. No.
Go
Wait 1 second. Like
Okay.
we'll just cut until you've got it.
I got it.
Okay. Oh, you've got it?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
100%.
Okay, we're not cutting now.
So this person only did one score.
okay.
Wendy Carlos.
Okay.
Do you know what that is? You know what that name
The
implies?
name is not familiar.
She did the score for the Shining film
Oh my God.
Okay,
That's,
yeah.
see,
from
like,
1980.
Yeah.
That's the only thing she did some other work, but it's all to do with that film.
like that's one of those that's really great.
I was
That movie
surprised.
is completely elevated.
So that's all she
by the
did.
sound.
Several fucking Kubrick films are some of my favorite, and that's when it comes to that, like the synth thought.
Like if you pull the score out of that movie becomes plotting and pretentious.
I mean, yeah.
Like those stinging beats from a lot of that music that's coming in there. Yeah. No, I absolutely. No, good job, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good job.
Oh yeah. The only other one, so keeping kind of with like this synth thing, but kind of in a new way is Trent Reznor
And Atticus Finch.
and
Yeah.
Atticus Finch. Like that, like those two. Those two are some of my favorite modern scores. When you talk about like The Social Network, The Social Network would not feel like it would without that.
The
score.
American version of didn't he do the American version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
I believe so. Yes,
Yeah, him
definitely.
and Atticus
Yes,
Finch. Yeah, like that's another movie that you need that backing. I think there are movies that if you just replace the score with something generic, a lot of like. Well, no, I was about to say something completely stupid. Like if you replace the Godfather score with something, no, if you stupid motherfucker, why would you say that?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that again, those are two movies. So much so, like outside of Citizen Kane, I think Social Network losing was the biggest Oscar snub at best movie of all time.
That was the best movie of that year.
I like The King's Speech. I like Colin Firth. I don't think he deserved the Oscar for that. I do believe Jesse Eisenberg knocked it out of the park. And anyone who says, "Oh, he's just playing Jesse Eisenberg," no,
Not in that
there's
movie.
There's some edge to that that goes past just like the usual weirdo / socially awkward Jesse Eisenberg. You can see that in almost any other movie. He's got some real like bite into that character, like Andrew Garfield. Hell, even Justin Timberlake. I got to credit him for being good with that. But you have those pieces like. There's that piece that's playing when they're showing the rowing team at Harvard, and to me that's just filler video, but that audio just makes everything blend together. Like it passes through, you notice it, and it sets up the setting to go on even further from it.
Yeah.
Like their scores like change the way you would feel. Like they did the score for Gone Girl.
Yep.
Like there's so much tension and building and dread in the first of that movie, and I think part of that is the score. They also surprisingly did the score, and I forgot about this one for Soul, the Pixar movie from
That
from
was
a couple
Trent
of years.
Reznor.
That was Trent Reznor and Atticus Finch who did that. A Pixar movie. The guy who
I
sang,
now need.
I want to fuck you
Oh
like
yeah,
an
I was about to
animal.
say I need like Toy Story, but with like closer, and see what happens with that.
But with Soul,
It'd be
it oddly
terrifying.
really works because whereas most Pixar movies are kids movies that adults can watch as well, I feel like Soul is almost an adult animated movie that kids can also get a lot out of. So it fits, but like there's a lot of like jazz and stuff in that movie, which is surprising to hear from Trent Reznor. When you think Trent Reznor, you don't think jazz.
Now you think 9 Inch Nails.
yeah, I think like early
Yeah.
'90s, like the birth
think
of electronica
industrial
rock,
music-
industrial
industrial
rock,
music,
something like that.
I
Yeah.
think either him or Manson did the score for the first Resident Evil movie. I can't
think that
remember.
was Manson. I didn't
It
see
might have
him.
been
That
Manson,
might have been Manson.
but yeah,
There you go.
Yeah.
modern guys.
All right. Have we exhausted it, at least for now, as far as our favorite?
Well, as far as favorites go, but I have one more mention. Even though a lot of the composing was already done because of the setting for this film, the 1984 Amadeus movie.
Yeah, that was
I mean, of course, score is very important when you're talking about a composer such as Mozart.
Right. I don't know who composed this, and if someone can look it up while we're doing this, the score for Chariots of Fire.
Oh yeah,
For Chariots of Fire is like that main theme is one of like the best main themes of all time.
John Strauss was the music coordinator on Amadeus, as well as Neville Mariner as the music conductor.
Very nice.
For Amadeus, have you ever seen Amadeus?
Ethan, while someone's looking up that information, get us started on soundtracks.
So, Brady mentioned Pixar. Pixar is Disney owned. When I think of my two all-time favorite Disney films, I think of Tarzan and Brother Bear. One of them very much well-respected, one of them very highly underrated. One man that is connected to both of these films is none other than Phil Collins. Phil Collins is regarded as a Disney legend for making the entire soundtrack for both of these movies.
He won the Academy Award for Tarzan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
He did.
Yeah.
He made Son of Man, Two Worlds, You'll Be in My Heart, I'm on My Way. Just everything with those movies. They've stuck with me even as a child, and the majority of all the songs on both of those from both of those movies are in my Spotify playlists.
Quick interrupt. The composer for Chariots of Fire also was the man behind the score for Blade Runner, which was Vangelis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah,
definitely up there with
that's another one. I'm glad we did, because I definitely wanted him on that list, even without knowing it.
I have one more mention.
You
if
have
I
one
can.
more. Okay, I interrupted for a composer. You interrupt for a composer.
Okay. Fabio, I'm gonna totally butcher this. Frizzi.
Fabio Frizzi.
Frizzi.
I think Frizzi.
Frizzi. If you don't know him, it's probably because you haven't seen enough Italian zombie films from the 1970s and early 80s.
You went full Fulci on me, didn't you? Son of a bitch!
He did the composition. He did the compositions for the Beyond.
Did you combine composition and decomposure?
I did. 100%. Didn't do it on purpose.
Full on zombieing.
But the Beyond, Gates of Hell, and Zombie, also known as Zombie 2. He did the music for that. I think, Gates of Hell and Zombie both are definitely, there's a scene in Zombie when the first zombie is popping out of the ground and the music kicks in, and that shit is fucking awesome.
Okay.
It really is. It's the cool factor for that one, for sure.
There we go.
All right.
We do a U-turn back into soundtracks. You've mentioned a Disney soundtrack. I'm going to say that there is the Disney soundtrack.
Ooh.
The Lion King.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, as much Tarzan was very fun. Again, the Academy Award was well deserved there. Every single piece of music, both composed and produced for that movie, is perfect.
Yeah.
100% absolutely perfect. Circle of Life. I can't wait to be king. Can you feel the love tonight?
Right.
There's so much good in that, and Elton John just knocked it out of the park.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So much so that they turned around and turned it into a Broadway stage show, which actually, from the looks of it, how they presented that, it's very fantastic.
Well, even we're kind of getting to more into soundtracks, but the way with most Disney movies, it's a musical,
right?
I would argue the soundtrack is a bigger thing with Tarzan because most people don't remember any of the other musical beats besides the Phil Collins songs. I can't even.
I'll give you that. No, yeah,
but with the Lion King, there's that chanting song that they do when at the end where he's going back up Pride Rock.
Yes.
I can vividly remember that those parts. So there's a good mesh of soundtrack and
well, to me, the score is part of the soundtrack. The soundtrack is the overall musical composition for the entire movie, but the score is what highlights those beats that aren't actual sung songs.
Yeah.
So Mark Manzini, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, also worked with the Hans Zimmer on The Lion King as a composer of additional music and the arranger score.
That was the live action quote unquote one, right?
No, this is 1994.
Okay.
Yeah. Something else though, as going down the rabbit hole for this guy that I just mentioned. Also composed music for Space Mutiny,
The Red Brown classic.
Days
where
of-
his girlfriend is a 50-year-old woman. We need to do like MST3K and watch
right?
that shit.
And I think he actually has worked with Zimmer on Days of Thunder,
Okay.
Where Sleeping Dogs Lie, True Romance. Let's see, Monkey Trouble, Twister,
Oh.
Con Air, Speed 2, Tarzan. So pretty much like everything Zimmer did for Disney, he was like there too as
I've
an
heard of
additional.
that. Mancini sounds familiar.
Yeah, Henry Mancini was the guy who did the Pink Panther theme, right? So maybe he's related to
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
So, who wants to break the glass and talk about Titanic?
You do.
I despise that movie, so I would prefer not to.
So, we have to acknowledge this.
Yeah.
At the time, it was the highest grossing movie of all time by a long shot. I think from a technical standpoint, I think it is a tremendous movie. I believe the acting in it is overloved, with the exception of Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet holds that movie together, and it is the reason why I think she and she alone was nominated for. But I think also the older version of her. I want to say her. I cannot remember the lady who played the older version of her, but I think she was also nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
I have no idea.
But that movie is, as far as its acting and as far as its emotional, is held together by her.
I'll say. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
But we can't. I don't think we can really talk about soundtracks without talking about what because that song, "My Heart Will Go On," lasted in the #1 spot. Starting a month before the movie came out to almost 6 months after it came out.
Oh yeah,
Good Lord.
it was in there for a
It
while.
was the #1 song in the United States
Do you know why it was the top grossing film at the time?
because it came out in December and nothing else was put up against
No,
it.
because it wasn't just a movie; it was an event,
Yeah.
and because teenage girls, they would the MTV had a setup after like the first couple weeks that movie came out, asking people what's with this Titanic movie. Like, how many times have you seen it? This one girl was like, "Oh, I've seen it 8 times. That's why." That didn't hurt. That didn't hurt because that wasn't the only person that probably did that.
It definitely was an event movie.
Yeah.
Well, again, it was an event movie that came out off season. I think
Right,
if that
of
comes out
course.
in a summer,
Right.
I don't think it has the impact that I think it has an impact, but the impact that it had culturally, no, I don't think it has that.
Right. No, I have to agree with you on that.
It comes out in December. Nobody does anything in December except
Right.
pure Oscar bait, like 100% pure Oscar bait.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that. Yeah. I agree with you on that.
The greatest soundtrack of all time is to Armageddon because I Don't Want to Miss a Thing is on it. I may have just lied, but the Armageddon soundtrack has the only song in all of Aerosmith's catalog that got to #1 on the Billboard charts.
Yeah. That does.
Their only #1 hit.
Can we talk
is
about the Rocky Horror Picture Show for a second?
That's a soundtrack start to finish.
yeah.
There is
Isn't it,
no
though?
score. It's only soundtrack.
It's all soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Words and Music by Richard O'Brien.
Okay.
I know I'm familiar, Jody. I know you're familiar. Brady, you're familiar
With
Rocky Horror.
yes.
Okay, and Ethan, what
I've never seen. Rocky
I'm going to
Horror in my
disqualify you
life.
from this next question.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
For me, it's science fiction double feature. What's your favorite song from that soundtrack?
Ooh, wow. It's not like Time Warp or what's the other big number on that one?
It doesn't have to be a big number.
Yeah,
Just like what,
right.
Like
it's
when you think
probably
about it.
it's probably over at the at the Frankenstein place.
There's a light.
There's a light over at the Frankenstein
Brady, what
place.
about you?
I like Rocky Horror Picture Show, but I'm not like as into it as a lot of people are. I do appreciate it. It's time warp for me. Like I have.
Right.
I
Okay.
still like that's in the music on my phone.
Three different
like,
people, 3 different songs. I will put I think for any album, but soundtracks, I think it applies for this here. When you have 3 people that can say, I like this piece better, I like this piece better, I like this piece better, and you can respect those choices, that is a tremendous soundtrack. That is an
Right.
absolutely tremendous sound. Like, I don't have any problem with anything. Like, if it was like When Eddie Said or Hot Patootie or any of the other songs,
Right.
like, I'll make Tonight I'm Making You a Man. Any of those songs, if you told me
Right.
that was your favorite song from that soundtrack, cool beans, bro.
It's a tie for me between Frankenstein's Place and Going Home.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
the last one before they start.
I'm Going Home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just a great that's a great piece in the movie just in general. Yeah. So yeah. No, that's
How about
a very
you,
good
Jay? What's your favorite song?
Legitimately. Oh, my favorite song
on the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack. That's right. You did.
I thought you were going to ask. Now, legitimately, and this is going to sound, Jay's being contrarian again, but no, this is 100%. Like, to this day, I still have the CD, and I will still put it in my archaic-ass CD player and play this thing. My favorite soundtrack of all time is to the original Mortal Kombat movie. That electronic EDM fucking... Oh, my God. You want to get up and either punch or dance or both.
I liked it when the games would come out and they would add more and more characters to the songs.
Yes.
I would. I may or may not have had. I don't think it was to the movie, but I did have the Mortal Kombat soundtrack.
The video to the video game, yeah.
To it a lot.
A lot.
Oh, yeah.
Techno Syndrome. Holy shit. Yeah.
Like, that was my shit for several years.
There's one song on not in the movie soundtrack, but on the Mortal Kombat soundtrack, and it's just weirdo fucking words, and then there's electronic on it. And one of the things is Johnny Cage is not afraid to die.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's
I remember that.
It is so weird.
Oh man,
so
you're bringing me
weird.
back.
I know.
To doing karate moves.
Yep.
In my
but not
my
just,
bedroom.
But like
to these songs,
like Utah Saints. I got who else?
Utah Saints.
KMFDM, Tracy Lords. They have songs on that soundtrack that like I will listen to. Like I think hers is Control, and it's like bump 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 bump.
I do remember that.
Like everything about that is just like heartbeat Technica, and I am just all for that.
Speaking of techno music, Jay.
Yeah.
There's one movie that's almost an entirely nothing but like hardcore techno music and horror, and it's Tetsuo the Iron Man.
I was hoping you would like take a breath so I could say Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Nope.
Come with me,
and you'll be. Eddie, that's the EDM version. Pop, 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 pop.
Tetsuo the Iron Man is a hardcore industrial film, Japanese film from like 1989, 1990. It's like an hour long, and it's completely insanity on film. With an awesome beat-thumping techno soundtrack to it. You should definitely check it out. It's on...
Any pieces you can name in particular that you would like say, this is like, when this thing drops, I'm catching it.
It's the whole thing, man. Like all of the background music for that film all kind of bleeds together. There is no specific, like, I can't say like, oh, well, when this happens, because it's constant. It's a constant, just it just hits you constantly.
I sent Ethan off into the corner. I'm going to call him back. Ethan, get back here. Get back. Okay, there you go. Okay, good. We welcome back. All right, give us another soundtrack. What's your favorite soundtrack of all time, outside of maybe Tarzan?
Okay, well, hang on. One, it's not my favorite, but up there. The Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack.
Oh, good man. Good
oh man, that is such a good soundtrack.
It's so good. From What's Up Danger with probably the best.
That's a good one.
Cinematic shots. Of the 2010s.
Yeah, you stole that from what I said earlier before the podcast.
I said I was going to mention it.
Okay. No big deal.
But that and Sunflower and it's like just
the passive aggression is simmering.
I watched a video one time where they were talking about how some of the things that they pulled from that moment with the What's Up Danger, how they pull into What's Up Danger, but then they're also two other score, like Miles Morales has his own like part of the score, and then I think Peter Parker has his own part, and they put those two together and they meld. Because if you just listen to What's Up Danger, it sounds different, a little bit different than the actual part in the movie. And they're talking about how that comes with the, like, What's Up Danger is talking about like actually going out on the limb and everything. But then those other two parts of the score coming in as well and being melded together are like him finally becoming Spider-Man in there. Like that part right there is just such a good.
So
but that score is like so good. There was a record store day where they had that album with like a special cover or something like that, and I missed getting it, and it's almost impossible to find on vinyl now, and it's very annoying. but I like that's one of the ones that
You just outed yourself as a hipster.
I like vinyl. Like it's cool.
Okay, hipster.
If we don't mention this name as far as like soundtracks go, whoever really is a big fan of films, especially from the 80s, will probably murder us in our sleep.
Does it rhyme with many Shoggins?
No.
It's not Kenny Loggins?
No.
All right, not because I'll talk about Kenny Loggins a little bit, but please.
John Hughes movies.
Oh yeah.
Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club.
Kenny Loggins is more important for soundtracks than John Hughes. John Hughes is more important for directing. But
I don't know, man. Like the soundtrack for Pretty in Pink is pretty awesome.
my counterpoint to that is highway to the danger zone.
Mm-hmm. If you leave, don't leave now. No?
Who's saying? I'm thinking about the Breakfast Club.
That's the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Wait, was that the opener for Breakfast Club?
No, that's the end song they play.
The end song is "Don't You Forget About Me."
Are you sure it's not the
Yeah.
end? Oh, okay.
Don't
I thought that was the end song.
forget about
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he
Yeah.
Yeah, throws his
in
hand
there.
and they freeze frame
Freeze
it.
frame.
That's the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the end.
That's what I
Might
said.
be the- I don't know. Those movies I don't watch a whole bunch. Like I
Right.
know a lot
Well,
about
Pretty
them,
in
but-
Pink has not.
I will argue John Hughes films did not age well.
It's not.
A
Well,
lot
that
of
one
them did
especially has not aged well at all.
No, it's specifically that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty in Pink has not aged well.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club also has a few questionable moments. Too.
But Pretty in Pink though has way more
Yeah.
Issues with it in that
Yeah,
manner.
it's Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
But at least in Pretty in Pink, they got an
Right.
Asian actor to play that.
Oh, okay.
One,
My kidneys are shutting down now.
That's a step up. That's a step up. That's progress.
My kidneys
dying.
are shutting down. His lungs are stopping.
I'm slowly losing my mind.
Ethan's got rubella.
One other soundtrack I kind of just want to mention.
Go for it.
The only movie that I can think of where both the actors starred in the movie and made the entire soundtrack, Tenacious D. Like I just
Pick
kind
of Destiny.
The Pick of
Okay.
Destiny.
Okay, I'll allow it.
I argue that soundtrack is better than the movie.
Oh yes,
I would also argue that
I
the movie
100%
that
agree
movie
with
came
that.
out 4 years too
Too late.
Yeah, that is true.
yeah.
We can't. I don't think we can talk about soundtracks in movies without at least mentioning Quentin Tarantino and his use of
Oh
soundtracks.
yeah, 100%.
And his use of tracks in movies.
Especially in Pulp
They are,
Fiction.
like in so many of them, they are so iconic. You know, you can think of like most of the moments in a Tarantino movie come with some sort of.
Hell, the opening
it starts with Reservoir Dogs.
The
and
opening
just
for
keeps
Reservoir
going through.
Dogs
Yeah.
just starts like snapping.
Stuck in the Middle with You has a completely different meaning.
Oh, yeah.
now,
Yeah,
thanks to
yeah.
that movie.
I
People
can't
who
listen to
watch
that movie
Reservoir
without-
Dogs can't listen to that song without
Right.
like thinking
Of
horrible
Mr.
things.
Yeah, Mr. Orange.
Mr. Blonde.
Mr. Blonde. Yeah, you're right.
Orange was it Tim Roth?
That's Tim Roth's
who
character.
was
Yeah.
In
shot
that-
in shot
in
in
a
the-
similar-
horribly shot in the stomach the
In
entire
a similar
time.
vein, I think in an evolution of that, we need to talk about James Gunn. James
Oh
Gunn.
yeah.
another one
Oh
I need to
yeah.
mention.
As far as incorporating a soundtrack, not just a score,
Just
but
a
incorporating
fun
a
soundtrack.
into the themes of a movie.
Yeah.
James Gunn knocks it out of the park. He is probably he is my favorite director working right now.
Yeah.
100%. If James Gunn's working on something as a director, maybe not so much as a producer, but as a director, I want to watch that.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, The Suicide Squad, fantastic movies that are elevated by the integration of the soundtrack with the movie that you were watching.
And I said this when it came out, and I'm saying it still, that Guardians is my favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's just
That's a
how
good
I
one.
That's a-
feel.
That's a very good,
You
good one.
can't. It's hard to argue that because
Yeah.
like those are two movies that the director actually got to put their stamp on. They feel like a James Gunn,
And they're
movie.
different from all the other Marvel
And
films.
they are.
Oh,
Yeah.
by a
With the
long
exception of
mile.
Thor, the third Thor film, the Ragnarok movie.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much like Guardians without Guardians.
Well,
Yeah.
it's Taika Waititi's sense
Right.
of humor.
And if you want to
versus
see
James
people
Gunn's.
imitating James Gunn, the first Suicide Squad movie.
Yes.
Watch
Yeah.
that as an imitation of how
Right.
James Gunn puts his movies together, because to me it's more along the lines, we've shot the movie, now let's pick some songs and that sound similar and we'll just tape them on there. Whereas he's starting from the music to
Yeah, he wrote
to figure out. Yeah,
he had a playlist, and as he was writing the movie, he was fitting them into a play.
Absolutely.
He was fitting,
Which is why the second Suicide Squad movie is like rad as fuck.
Yeah, like he's very like that's what he does. He comes up with a track list and then writes the movie with this to meet this track list. So that's why everything fits so perfectly with the soundtrack and that.
Yeah, I think it's 100% on that. I also believe that if we're going to end this, I think we should end it with a man I've already mentioned. And if I don't go any further with it, it'll be like a Hammer Films issue where it gets mentioned and then never gets talked about again. Kenny Loggins. If you want to talk about 80s soundtracks, that motherfucker is
Footloose
all over every
and
Footloose,
Top
Gun, Caddyshack.
I'm all right.
Nobody worry about me. Holy hell! Like there were so many. Caddyshack is a tremendous comedy. I think the songs that he provides in there, like especially "I'm All Right," like that is to me the entire thesis statement of the movie.
There's always at least one Loggins song that stands out on those soundtracks. If there's more than one song on there, that's usually like, you know, Footloose is Footloose.
Footloose, not just Kenny Loggins, but I love the song that's playing when he's teaching the guy how to dance.
I don't remember.
Let's hear it for the boy.
Oh yeah.
Like that song's right. Like Footloose. Top 5 for me soundtrack. We're not going to do a full chalkboard. Yeah. We did enough of that last week, but top 5 soundtrack I think for me all time. Like the original Footloose, not the other one that had Blake Shelton, who apparently hosts Silence Your Cell Phones. I'm going to run that fucking joke into the ground. God damn it!
I hate Dirty Dancing, by the way, the film and
actually Dirty Dancing.
I wouldn't go that far, but I definitely hate the film.
So if a girl wants to dirty dance with you right now, are you down?
I mean, depends on the girl.
What if the girl's Ethan?
No.
Okay.
I would not want to dance with me either.
That's probably the best answer.
That's so sad.
That's the best answer you could possibly give.
With somebody, but not Ethan.
Thanks, Whitney.
The last thing I wanted to mention was a modern movie that if we're talking about soundtracks in movies, I don't think we can really skip because of how integral this soundtrack is to the movie, and that is Baby Driver.
Yes.
I haven't seen Baby
like
Driver.
If you haven't,
I need to see it.
I would recommend
so good.
anyone watching
You
this
have to
movie.
deal with looking at Ansel Elgort's stupid face for a lot of it.
That's your lead off for watch Baby Driver.
But it has
ignore Ansel Elgort.
Please.
Right.
But it has some of the best driving sequences, chase scenes, and the movie is like Edgar Wright is an Edgar Wright movie, and it's perfectly.
I love Edgar Wright movies.
Everything is perfectly sequenced to a soundtrack because the main character was it tinnitus?
Tinnitus, yeah.
Yeah, where he got an accident when he was younger and has a constant ringing in his ears. So to drown that out, he constantly is listening to music. So everything that he does, if he's driving, he's listening. Like the first sequence of him driving and how the soundtrack is perfectly done to the sequence of the song is perfectly set to the sequence of, or the stunts are perfectly set to the sequence of the song is so good.
Okay.
So good. It is definitely worth checking out. But that entire soundtrack is perfectly set up to the movie. It's the use of sound and music in that is so good. So good.
Like talking about movies that use the soundtracks to meld certain sequences in movies, I think Baby Driver does it the best, in my opinion.
It's one of the more modern movies that does it the absolute best, I think. Because like Edgar Wright kind of did like James Gunn did, where he had this list of songs and he made sure that everything was perfectly like put with that, and it's a really good soundtrack. I'm gonna get the hipster thing again, but I have this
vinyl.
This on vinyl, and it's a really good soundtrack to listen to start to finish.
You can't catch hipster more than once.
Okay, good. Well, that's good.
There you go.
Once you've already been labeled,
speaking of hipster, I played Brady and Jay Superorganism the other day, and that's about as hipster as you can fucking get.
That is 100%
definitely,
true.
Definitely.
So I think final thoughts, anybody, on scores and soundtracks in general, stuff in specific? What do we got?
Appreciate the music. Just appreciate it.
Yeah, if you think that these things don't matter, I've gone back and forth thinking of like, what do I like better, a soundtrack or a score? I think that they can both be very helpful. But if you think that these things don't matter, think of a very like your favorite moment in a movie, and go back and watch it with the sound off and see if it has the same effect on you as it did with the sound on. And I'm going to bet that there was music behind that. Probably. Sometimes there's not, but there was probably music there, and it probably enhanced it. It definitely, I think that it definitely would have enhanced it versus not with it just on mute. So.
And final thought, Jay, we were not going to have another Hammer horror situation, even though this was spoken about before recording. In fact, it was spoken about last week off mic. We need to speak about the Universal horror movies from the early 30s, Dracula specifically. I think you mentioned Dracula.
The score on that, first of all, Swan Lake being the first thing you ever hear in a horror movie. Like, that's the first sound horror movie, first thing you hear is Swan Lake. That sets you up so perfectly for what you're about to see in Dracula. Yes, if you want to talk about the importance of sound and what it has meant to just to media in general, but particularly for movies, think of Dracula without that music in the back. And that and only two other times do you have backing music in that. Really, it's the opera scene where that's kind of in the background ambient. Mm-hmm. But as far as setting up a mood and setting up a feeling, Swan Lake at the beginning of Dracula is so important. It is so important. And that, I think, is, again, where we talk about soundtracks and scores. Mm-hmm. They put you in the mindset, and they put you in the feeling of, this is what I should be feeling now. Mm-hmm. When that doesn't work, it is the most discordant, distasteful, and really downright awful thing you can have while watching a movie or a TV show.
One thing.
When it works perfectly. Mm-hmm. When it works perfectly.
One thing I would like to say, I appreciate both soundtracks for both Dune films. And, we talked about Toto.
Toto did the score for the original.
The 1984.
Like the I Bless the Rains Down in Africa crew. Yes, they are the ones. Yeah. And Rosanna, which was about Rosanna Arquette. She's had 2 songs written about her by bands. Does anyone know what the second song is?
I do not.
Nope.
In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel.
Oh, okay. But Toto did the score and the soundtrack. So they did, multiple things on
absolutely.
Dune.
No, and it's an exceptional soundtrack.
Right, for sure.
It gets you in the mood for that, absolutely.
Also, one of my favorite soundtracks is actually a re-soundtrack for the German Impression film Metropolis that was redone in the 1980s with a new wave synth soundtrack to it. It's pretty sweet.
I think meshes very well with
it's very cool stuff.
All right. Jody, cap this thing, please.
I think that we all have to agree that music is important in everyone's lives, especially now with how the world is. And I think that music and film definitely sells a lot of things about what's happening while you're visualizing. You're also hearing it. And so you might hear a song on the radio or on any streaming device when you're driving to work or wherever you may be, and it might remind you of that time you sat in a theater and watched a film that made you cry for the first time. I think music moves us, and I think it moves us in movies as much as it moves us outside of film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Very much.
Yeah.
All right. This bus is slowly limping into the station. We'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight, but we'd also like to thank some very good people who do very good podcasts as well. Brady, do the Fearology podcast.
Fearology is a horror podcast done by some guy named Jody. I don't.
I've heard some stuff about this guy.
The guy's name is J.L. Kite.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Okay.
I've heard of him.
To be honest, I don't know who he is, so I don't even know why. No,
I think JL stands for Jolly Lively, so he's a British man.
Lee is my middle name.
I'm Jolly Lively Kite.
That's right.
Oh, Harry Potter.
Would you like to know about fear?
I'm Butch, but you used to know me as Pete Dunn.
Would you like to know me about ology?
Okay, yeah. Our other host, Jody, talks about horror pod stuff. What you got cooking up lately, or Is it one of those? Are you on one of those unintended hiatuses?
I'm actually working on a episode about Japanese and Korean horror. But hopefully that'll be a show we can record together, so we can actually have I can have guests on my show.
I can talk a decent amount of
bring a e-card reader, and we can get that on your computer maybe, and we can get it recorded here in the studio.
Okay.
And with the super fly audio.
Or I can give you my email to my Anchor account, and you can just upload it on there.
That's easy and simple. Let's make it difficult.
Yes, let's add 18 more steps to this.
Exactly. Those 18 steps make the sound better?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, you really got to get those 18 steps in.
Exactly,
You're not getting the full experience.
Yeah.
Silence Your Cell Phones is a podcast.
Who are the hosts?
Kevin Shelton and Jared Hubbard.
Oh, thank God.
And they talk about movies. We talked about movies and soundtracks tonight, but we talk about a lot of things on this show. But they specifically talk about streaming and films and what you should watch and what you shouldn't watch in a very articulate manner. And you should definitely check those guys out. They're on all the platforms. Silence your cell phones.
And also their live recording of
YouTube.
their podcast is on YouTube every Wednesday night. It might be going on right as we are speaking.
Mm-hmm. Whiskey and Wrestling, our good friends Jason Holder and Michael Hill. They have a whiskey of the week that they partake in and give their personal notes on it, and then they go about the results of wrestling for the week.
Or the clusterfuck that the end of the AEW show was tonight.
I don't want to talk about that. Post-traumatic stress disorder is settling in, and I really don't. I'm tired from that.
And we don't have to talk about it because Michael and Jason will.
I'm certain they will talk about it enough. And they will also, have a little bit of distance behind it, so they won't maybe be so traumatized by it. Then hopefully, I don't know, because it sucked.
Yeah. So that is Whiskey and Wrestling, uploaded every Sunday. Michael and Jason, give them a listen.
Again, also on all good podcasting platforms. I would like to thank Greg Spanier and the entire crew here at Greg Gaming for providing us with this wonderful studio space in which we record the show. And as always, again, if you would like to give passenger feedback to the Travelers on the Omnibus, again, that email address is travelersontheomnibus, all one word, at gmail.com. Travelersontheomnibus at gmail.com. Also, look for our polls and questions if you're using Spotify. We're trying to get on Google. Google is being a bit of a pain as far as getting on that podcast, but we are on Apple Podcasts, so we're very thankful for that. So if your friends listen on any of those devices or apps, please spread out the word. We would much love you for it. Anybody got advice for the passengers this week?
Stay tuned for next week on the Omnibus when we talk about what makes a villain a supervillain.
Oh.
I'm shivering in my pants.
But you're wearing pants?
Oh my God, he's wearing pants.
You guys were supposed to know. No.
I really hope everyone's wearing pants at this table right now. Is anyone not wearing pants?
I just robed while we were recording.
Hold on. Tune in next time when we find out who's wearing pants. For Travelers on the Omnibus, I am James McCarthy.
I am Ethan.
I'm Jody.
I am Brady.
Thank you and good night.
Crickets?
Yep.
Really?
That's really what you want to end on?
Yeah, we're ending on crickets.
Awesome. Great.
We're doing the entire
lovely.
3, 2, 1.